lived in India, I've lived in Malaysia, all across Asia. And I know what good food tastes like. I'm quite old. I'm 96 actually. No, I'm just kidding. So I know what food tastes like from the 1980s and 70s. And I'm bringing that here, and I'm like, why does food taste like that? It's because God didn't grow the food anymore. When you honor the microbes, the galaxies and galaxies and galaxies of microbes that live under the ground, all of a sudden, your food will taste like life. You will start living. And by the way, I have the least amount of money that I've ever had in my life. Do I look like I'm poor? Do I look like I'm like in need? No, I'm like living on my purpose. And I'm so alive now in my lowest financial state than I have ever been in my entire life because of food and because of coming back to the first principles of what food is.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be on this panel because yes, and I mean, it's awesome. I'll speak more from the mechanics of what I think I've learned that is going to make a difference, and the mechanics is the ability to simplify that connection between consumer and producer. When we first started this concept of this, Airbnb meets local farms and ranches, it's for the increase of regenerative agriculture and this food supply chain stability. We have less cows now than we did in 1948 with 2025 population. We have 84 million head of cows, beef cows, in our entire country. And if you eat meat, beef, it takes one whole beef to feed one family of 4. That's literally where we're at as a nation. We are fully dependent on external sources to feed ourselves. It's what I learned is worse in the vegetable space, in the produce space. Trying to find local farmers that are growing produce is much harder than finding somebody growing local meat. I'm like, oh, cool. I know the meat space. I'm going to be able to connect with the produce space easy. They don't exist. There's very few produce growers that have not been aggregated under one brand and monocropping one area. So by creating a system that is capitalistic in mechanics, because it's the world we're in, but led with the vision of holacracy and holistic management and holistic systems. That's our vision. We said, okay, farmers and ranchers are only earning about, in the meat space, they're only earning about 14 cents on the dollar. So if you go buy a $20 steak, a $20 per pound, they're only getting about 14 cents on the dollar. That's why we're losing them. And that's because there's so many middlemen in between to help that transaction happen to get to that plate. If we can cut all of those middlemen out and connect the consumers directly with the producers as easy as possible, that's how we can accelerate the system. And those relationships are between the two. So our model is we have a 15% commission only on what we help them sell. And 100% of that is designed to go back into marketing, logistics, and software development. So we don't earn a penny from our farmers and ranchers. Also makes us less desirable to venture capital, which typically they are only in it for an exit. How can we scale an exit? Our biggest danger is if we do this, if we are successful in connecting farmers and ranchers as simply as Airbnb or Uber is for their systems, we have a chance to completely reverse where we're headed and diversify and disrupt farms across the nation. But the biggest risk is that $1 billion check shows up to the wrong people in charge of this thing to buy it out, shelve it, or convert it back to what works for them. So we have to develop this by and for the people. We launched crowdfunding campaigns. We're working on finding like-minded people that want to see regenerative systems designed. We have investors. They've got to make money. So what we did was we flipped the commercial market and just reversed it. Cisco will go to restaurants and lose money on their food because they have a 400% markup on the chemicals that restaurants already built buying. So they can trade off food for their other products they own. That's our vision. Flip the script. We take a 15% commission, so food is our loss leader, meaning 100% of the value of food produced is designed to make that producer money so more people can do it. And then it's our responsibility to find other ways to make revenue for our investors. But if we truly build a system that exists by and for producers and the people are the one dictating what they grow, there's going to be plenty of revenue to find somewhere else to satisfy those that we needed to help us get this off the ground. We don't have to take it from our farmers and ranchers, but we have to think differently and not think it fully extractionary to make the change.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you.
So again, I'm totally in inspired agreement with all you guys. Our version of this is we lead with mission, we stay with mission first, we never compromise mission ever, and we've been tempted for seconds because it's easy to say no when you're really clear about what your mission is and why you're doing this. So we've said no now to a total of over $450 million from nice people. They didn't show up in a blacked out limousine. They were nice people, but they didn't quite get it enough. So our mission quotient for saying yes to much smaller amounts of money that have helped us grow more slowly, more organically, we are totally sovereign. We are so clear about the mission. We will never have to compromise it any bit at all. And if anybody in this room or you guys or anybody wants to know how to do that, I will help you as much as I can because I've been blessed to learn how to do that. Yep. So it's not hard. Nature is how we grow everything. We emulate nature. In a handful of living soil, there are more microbes in our hand than there are people on Earth. All that intelligence has been designed over 3.5 billion years to balance all our ecosystems of Earth, air, and oceans and provide all living things and all the symbiosis that exists in nature with vitality. Vitality and the nutrients and the support to live vital, joyful, incredibly healthy lives. That's what's there for us when we choose it. So in growing our work, we're choosing to emulate that system. So again, a natural ecosystem that is regenerating a community. And food still is the #1 industry on Earth. People spend more money on food on this planet than on anything else, more than technology, more than energy, more than anything else. So as we start to redirect some of that food to make it more local, more supportive directly without the middle people of organic farmers, and more supportive of well-being and life, you'll see big change. A simple exercise you can do is if you think, how much in my community do people spend on average a month on their food per person? So you may live in a big place, a small place, you may spend $1,000 on food, you may spend $200 or $300, but including all the people on welfare and all the people that have way more money than they know what to do with and eat really, really well, think of a really low average. Maybe it's $100, $200 a month. That's $200, that's $6.50 a day. That's ridiculous. But if even at that low amount, if you multiply it by all the people in your community, you get ungodly numbers, huge numbers. Hundreds of millions of dollars in even small and mid-sized communities spent on food every year. 95+% of that money leaves town and goes to people who don't care if you're sick all the time. So if you capture 10% of that, $20 million a year, $50 million a year, $85 million a year, and you have it circulate locally, like all of us are working on doing in different ways, what do? You created tremendous abundance, and it was always there. It just was directed outward to where it doesn't belong instead of kept local where it can help all of us, right? And the last thing is that when you keep a dollar local and you spend it local in a community, it doesn't just get spent once, it gets spent 3 to 5 times. That's really exciting. So the abundance is there. The natural system architecture is there. We just look at nature and do the same thing nature's been doing really well. And it goes into all of our relationships. So the game is, how can I be more of that every day? It's really fun. And it feels like vitality. It feels like endless energy. It feels like heart wisdom. And it feels like it's going to work. So thanks.
Thank you so much. I want to add one thing. I think that what I always try to design is what I call a win-win-win-win, and I forgot to say it, but like if you can think about whatever you're providing in the world, is it a win for you and your family? Is it a win for your community? And is it a win for your investors? Is it a win for your customers? And I had a farm in California. I had to escape communism and come here. But in just 5 years, we brought the soil organic matter up from 0.00 whatever percent to 20%. We were producing on just 17 acres, $500,000 of produce a year, and for surviving and providing for my restaurants as well as all the CSA boxes in the community. We had all these jobs, all these people living on the farm, getting to eat off the farm, living in tiny houses. And basically California came in and said, like, you can't have people living in tiny houses, you can't this, can't that. But that was a win-win-win-win. Like, all the community was winning, my farm workers were winning, they had an awesome, clean place to live and all this fresh, healthy food and good wages. We were growing all of this food, everything that's growing, win-win-win-win. And unfortunately, the bureaucracy of California destroyed that. But I think that I was still operating in the highest intention. And so if whatever business you're in, you don't want it to be a pinch on anybody. You want it to be like everybody feels good about how it's going. And if you can design systems like that, then they're going to be good for everybody. And right now we're starting over with this ranch here and the restaurant and all that. And every customer that comes in, they're like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. And I say, it doesn't work without you. And that's the truth. And so, like, let me know if it's working for you, because I can't do this without you. And I say that to every customer, because that's the truth, is like, it has to be a win. I can't provide something that people don't want.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Let's go into technology here. This involved in Mexico, work local community first, and see, and we actually one of the leaders, full in indigenous and grant local farmers, I think, so for his local farmers to be able to go directly through the consumer through technology. How do you see technology empowering everything that you're doing? Are you using already, Web3, for example, or other aspects of technology in the work that you're doing there?
I think technology is a tool, but we must not lean on it so hard that we don't know how to do stuff without it. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, so I don't know about this other cryptocurrency, but
community currency. No, I meant for the local community.
But no, I think that there's so much technology. What AJ is doing is a technology, and that's going to help people buy. I grew all these pigs for Sage, and then Sage went out of business, and so now I have 100 and something pigs on the ground with no customers, and me and him are going to work out a strategy to what to do for that, and his technology is going to help me. AI, all these things, different kinds of apps, different kinds of algorithms is all going to help us. But when we get so caught up in the technology and thinking that the technology is the solution, the technology is a tool just like the tractor, but the tractor cannot grow food. And AI cannot do everything that a human can do. Yes, it can rattle out all of this stuff, but we are divinely meant to be here. Like, we belong here. And I said in my last talk, like, I want everybody to walk out of the house like, I belong here every single day. And so use technology as a tool, but don't lean on it so much that you don't remember your purpose and what you're here to do. And never let it disconnect you from nature, and never let it disconnect you from God. And don't pray to the technology. Keep your attention and your mind on source.
Thank you.
So, unlike hydroponic systems, which our system is not, we're a soil-based system. We do use technology, but without technology, we'd be okay. In other words, you're growing indoors like a garden, and you could use solar, or you can use the sun to grow your food because you're growing in soil. In hydroponics, you need all these pumps and all that. We have a passive system which uses gravity and then wicking action indoors. But that being stated, while the technology is available to us, because we want to be independent of technology, but we also want to use technology while it's around to move us forward. And so what technology is teaching the patron, teaching the customer, teaching the consumer on how to grow and how you're growing. And in the environment that you're at, let's say you're in Shanghai and I'm in Austin and somebody else is in Toronto, the humidity conditions or the temperature conditions may be different. and you're all growing basil at the same time, that can be made consistent with the use of technology and AI and machine learning. So we're harnessing those sensors and that data gathering and that knowledge, and then we're bringing it back to the consumer and teaching them and saying, hey, look, this is what actually happened. And then we're incentivizing the consumer by saying, if you grow this, your neighbor actually wants that. They're growing that, and they're a specialist in that. Why don't you start trading? And we're trying to create community within the residential tower with technology. I can go on, but that's kind of one of the ways that we're using technology.
Beautiful. And you're looking at AI, for example, looking at ecosystem credit and that type of way to also generate finance. So yeah, thank you so much.
We are a technology company, so the way that we see this is technology. We marry the wisdom of the past with the technology of the future. Essentially, our goal is to move fast enough and connect as many people as hyper-local as possible, that in the event that there's a worst-case scenario, we're not needed.
Yeah.
You already met your local farmers and ranchers. Because the issue right now, what happened in COVID is when they said there was no food available on the store shelves because of the backlog, and there's some details behind that left shortages on the store shelves. The reality is there was cows standing in the field ready to go to a family's home, but people forgot how to connect. That's the issue, right? Even in the small town I'm in, Cody, Wyoming, if there was a major supply chain disruption, we would even have problems, even in a world of abundance, because there's no communication, right? There's enough food in many of our areas throughout the country that are smaller to feed that population, but in a communication breakdown, we have an issue. So we can use technology to bolster our food system so that if there's a worst case scenario, we have insulated ourselves from it being even worse because we now know who our neighbors are. We don't want to have a technology that we're fully reliant on. We want a technology that helps us get to the path of sovereignty. And so if we're never needed, that's like the best case scenario. You know, coming from the coaching world, the goal isn't to have a client that needs you forever. They're choosing to be with you because the value they're adding, and they could walk away someday because you've helped them. If we build a system that requires you to be reliant on us, then we're not making a big difference. We're just replacing one system with another. We're there because in order to get mass scale adoption, you have to meet people where they're at. Well, the most consumed foods are highly processed foods in the grocery store. That's where the majority of people are because of convenience. So our goal is to use technology to catch up with convenience. And then, as we all know, as you start edifying and feeding the microgut biome, the brain will open up and see things and start moving in a direction that actually makes a difference. That's how you make America healthy again. It's not policy change. It's feeding the microgut biome, which is necessary for regenerative agriculture, so we can waken people's brains so they start making choices in a regenerative concept. The other thing is, you mentioned coins, right? Decentralization. There's a big movement in that area. I've talked to producers that have large operations, and they're talking about using coins, blockchain in their coins. A rancher said the other day, do you think somebody would be interested if I would sell them a share in this beef? It's a Wagyu F1 super high quality beef for restaurants. You think somebody would buy a coin for $4,000 knowing my downstream sales is $6,000, but they're helping me finance my cattle? Do you think people would be interested in that? Yes. You need to go to these conferences because there's plenty of people. There's actually a group called Grow United. Grow United is at this point being backed by Robert Kennedy and the Maha movement. I don't know if that'll finalize, but just kind of catch up. They're working on a decentralized web where every producer on there owns their own node. And that adds an actual tangible function to that coin. And now it's this whole network that's decentralized, and that's why Maha's interested, because it truly is a decentralized food network. Because if you get into it, the complexities of our food system is precisely why we're so vulnerable. To move this amount of food, the food waste that David's talking about is a real thing. And it's because our systems have been designed for maximizing efficiency and revenue for the big guys. And so they're extremely complicated. And that's why if one part of that whole gets removed, we have a catastrophe. So technology's got a big role to play, but I think it needs to be available, but then also design in a way that if it's not available, we've still moved in that right direction.
Thank you so much for sharing that. David, we have about 2 more minutes left. Thank you.
So if I take a shovel and I smash that camera, and then I take the same shovel and I dig a garden at your house to feed your grandma, was the shovel good or bad? Right? So it's neutral. It's neither. It's how we use everything, how we use the tools that matter. So technology is a rapidly escalating, massively powerful tool that so many people are working on. I recommend we use it to its fullest from the point of view of a non-negotiable commitment to the mission. That's the easiest way to sort through all the fuzz and all the gun and all the people trying to pull us in different directions. So we're doing that. So we've created our own technology to get us to be able to do this physically, but we're doing all kinds of things with technology, and we're going to use it to its fullest because we know, because we've been proving it to ourselves and anybody who cares over lots of years, that we have a non-negotiable 100% 500-ton block of granite, you're not going to move us off of it, commitment to the mission. So from that place, we're relaxed about and kind of excited about how we can explore technology and use it. So one of the things we're working on is called Jools, Jooles, and it's the world's first fully organic backed digital currency. So that's going to be a great currency, and we've been working on that for a couple of years, and we're going to bring that out at some point in the next year or so. And that will help tie communities together. It'll help tie farmers to eaters. It'll help, there's all these different aspects to Jools. Some of them are social currencies, creating different kinds of awards for farmer heroes that are growing the life in the community through their soil and their food. So it's fun. There's all kinds of really cool, fun things we can do with technology. The key is get really clear, life or death, nothing else matters, non-negotiable, really clear about what your mission, what your relationship to this mission is. And as we do that, technology does become our friend. And the parts and the ways that people use it to beat up that camera, they don't enter into the picture, because the saying that we have is, oh, we don't do that here. It's really simple. So that's it.
I'd like to add one thing on technology. Consumers have the ability to use your platforms, your social media platforms, and leverage technology to affect change on a big scale. I mean, we've seen what caused the chicken farms to go away and be completely replaced by commercial farms is the producers didn't have a voice. They had nowhere to share their challenges, their struggles, and nobody to listen to them. It was really hard to share that. Last year, when the dairy producers in Oregon were being attacked, and they were going to be forced to spend a significant amount of money on infrastructure for one cow because of certain lobbying tactics by bigger milk companies, they stopped it because the community rallied. There was so much public pressure because consumers used their platforms that it changed. Just recently, the H5N1 bird flu vaccine that they were trying to ram through and make every chicken and cow receive, that just got stopped. Why? Because significant pressure using technology in the right way on social media showed the decision makers that if we go this route, we've got a problem. The Maha movement rallied and said, this is not what we voted for. And they used their social platforms to do that. So use your voice, protect your food supply. Your farmers and ranchers need you. So fill your feed with with what they're saying and back them, because if we forsake our food supply, every culture has failed because their food supply went first. And we're on the precipice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And those are wonderful last words. Do you want to close? Wonderful. Do we have any questions from the audience here? Anybody would like to have a question?
I mean, the 5 principles that you want to go by is never leave the soil uncovered. The mother is modest. She wants to be covered, so cover crops. Biodiversity, having both perennials and annuals planted at the same time. Animal integration, so bringing animals, moving them every day. Mob grazing or holistic planned grazing. No-till, so not to disrupt the soil, not to disrupt that internet of information that's flowing through the ground. And then the last one is to not use chemicals. And so those are the 5 principles of regeneration. If you stick to those, it happens really fast. Like, this is not something that we're talking about in 10 generations and your grandchildren's grandchildren. In just 5 years, I brought the soil organic matter from 0.001% to 20% by just implementing those practices.
It's important to know that context matters too. That was in California.
It's going to be slow. It's slow. I'm 3 years here in Texas and we're at like 6, but it's still 6.
Yeah.
It's super high. Yeah. And in some areas we're like at 1.5, but it was 1.5 from 0. And so, but yes, California has,
And there are products you can use. There are infinite methods to feed the life in the soil. Free and natural farming is one. There are lots of other ones. One of the projects that we felt was important to be able to provide farmers a fast track to growing living soil got us $1.5 million invested up in Montana into building the first Earth Power Lodge, which is a second generation from a movie called The Need to Grow. So if you want to look up that movie and watch it, RegenGrow is a liquid that we've been producing now since April, and it's mixed 1/4 cup to 1 gallon of water, and it will super feed the microbes in the soil so that the life grows 400 times faster than basic composting. So you can do that in a garden, you can do that on a 1,000-acre farm. And so there are products like that out there. We're interested in ones that we put a lot of money and time into it, but there's lots of them. Awesome.
Just keep in mind that we only have 10% of the knowledge of the soil in the world today, if that. So different regions, it's Mother Earth. You have to cultivate it. You have to listen to it. You have to figure that out. There's biodynamic farming. There's many different types of farming. Rudolf Steiner is a great source. So just go with that. Go with your instincts. Go with how the land is speaking to you. And
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Question? Wonderful question. Thank you for that.
For my organization, getting more like retreats or corporate stuff really brings in large chunks of money, and for sure buying some steaks or whatever is good. But like when we're doing a wedding or we're doing a corporate retreat or this was actually supposed to be at my farm, but people didn't want to travel, so it got moved here. But so doing these kind of things really makes a big difference, and it's like a chunk of money that then can go to other things. And then of course buying whatever products that I sell. But that for me, we need more corporate and more weddings and more retreats, yoga retreats, stuff like that.
I am in the process of raising money. That right now what I'm trying to do is I'm beginning to speak on YouTube in long form. So follow me on YouTube at Mock Garden, and then on Instagram. So just follow and share, and that's it.
From the farm, we have a crowdfunding campaign going. We'll be closing it pretty soon, but we've raised over $320,000 from people wanting to be a part of this. It's on WeFunder. And so we wanted to get into a position where people could, we called it the Feed the People, Buy the People campaign, because again, we're avoiding corporate takeover. So being funded by the community is the best way to do that. So either that or go to fromthefarm.org and navigate. And when you have a bug, because we're new, email me. Help me figure out where those bugs are. Let us make it better. I've just learned to accept that we've had VCs come and offer a lot of money because they see the possibility of this, but that would bind us to somebody that we just don't align with. So we are willing to go slower. We're willing to let our community give us feedback so that we can build it authentically. The other thing I would say is, because we support farmers and ranchers and trying to help them grow their businesses, if you haven't seen Molly's Place, go see it. It's amazing. if you're hosting events, or if you know somebody that's hosting events, there is no better property than to go to Sovereignty Ranch. You've got a professionally trained chef that's growing and producing all of her own food within the ecosystem that you're hosting these conventions. And the